Yes, I'm not wearing green, but I'm holding it. Happy St. Patrick's Day. I'm Randall Terry. This is Voice of Resistance.
Those who forsake the law praise the wicked. Those who uphold the law resist them. Welcome to the Voice of Resistance. Here's your host, Randall Terry.
Hi, friend. Happy St. Patrick's Day. And check this out. This is my boy's t-shirt. I said, give me that t-shirt. I want to show it on TV today. So this is the St. Patrick breastplate prayer. That's a mouthful. It is not the whole prayer. And I thought, you know what? For those of you who have never heard this prayer, it is wonderful. It is so inspirational. And if you do a web search, you can find I think it's called The Cry of the Deer, where some of these words are put to music. I've put it in a loop, going to bed, and then going to bed, listening to it as I sleep, and hearing it as I wake up. In fact, you could go ahead and play it underneath me. That'd be good. You won't hear the words because I'm going to say some of them. So I'm going to read to you some of this prayer, not the whole thing, but you'll see why it's so inspirational. I arise today through a mighty strength, the invocation of the Trinity, through belief in the threeness, through confession of the oneness of the Creator of creation. Let me back up for a minute. Some of you don't recognize the incredible testimony of St. Patrick. St. Patrick lived in the late 300s or early 400s, and he was captured on the mainland of Europe and was taken to Ireland as a slave. He was there for a number of years and then escaped. He says that his escape was because of God. He became a very devout Christian, and he went back to Ireland. He had the bitter experience of slavery, but in great boldness, in great courage, he went back to Ireland to preach the gospel of Jesus Christ, and ended up preaching to the pagan king and converting him, and through his preaching and the preaching of those who worked with him, converted the island of Ireland to Christianity. One of the most wonderful, magnificent, true stories of the Christian faith. I encourage you to read on it. So today is the day that the church has historically celebrated his birthday, or not his birthday, but historically honors him, okay? This is St. Patrick's Day. So here's more of the prayer. I arise today through the strength of heaven, the light of the sun, the radiance of the moon, the splendor of fire, the speed of lightning, the swiftness of wind, the depth of the sea, the stability of the earth, the firmness of rock. I arise today through God's strength to pilot me, God's might to uphold me, God's wisdom to guide me, God's eye to look before me, God's ear to hear me, God's word to speak for me, God's hand to guard me, God's shield to protect me, God's host to save me from the snares of the devils, from temptation of vices, from everyone who shall wish me ill, afar and near. Christ with me, Christ before me, Christ behind me, Christ in me, Christ beneath me, Christ above me, Christ on my right, Christ on my left, Christ when I lie down, Christ when I sit down, Christ when I arise, Christ in the heart of every man who thinks of me, Christ in the mouth of everyone who speaks of me, Christ in every eye that sees me, Christ in every ear that hears me. Isn't that beautiful? I'm going to go out and we'll play a few bars, a few seconds of that song for you to enjoy. You can search it out on your own. I'll be right back. Don't go away.
Against
If you own a business and would like to advertise on our program, please contact us. We are currently seen on over 130 television stations from coast to coast. We air at 8 p.m. Eastern, and then all times are local. We have a lot of reach, friend, and this is an opportunity at a great price for you to get your product or your service in front of hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions of people. Also, if there's something that's important to you and you'd like to have a month where you just say thank you to this ministry or promote a certain ministry or a certain cause, contact us. Our rates are incredibly affordable. You'd be surprised. And you, again, can reach into hundreds of thousands, perhaps millions of homes. We're currently seen possibly in over 30 million homes. So give us a call, give us an email, and we'll put a commercial up for you. Again, friend, happy St. Patrick's Day. The Obama administration, coming late to the party, has decided that they are going to label ISIS as a group that commits genocide. So, we're going to play a clip from Secretary of State John Kerry's press conference this morning, his statement. Now, he refers to ISIS as Daesh as opposed to ISIS. And Daesh is sort of an acronym of Islamic words, which almost mean the same thing. It does say the word Islam in that phrase, but for whatever reason, he thinks it's cute to call them Daesh instead of calling them ISIS. So if there's any confusion about that, there's the reason. So let's listen to Senator John Kerry's words.
Daesh is responsible for genocide against groups in areas under its control, including Yazidis, Christians, and Shia Muslims. Daesh is genocidal by self-proclamation, by ideology, and by actions, in what it says, what it believes, and what it does. Daesh is also responsible for crimes against humanity and ethnic cleansing, directed at these same groups, and in some cases also against Sunni Muslims, Kurds, and other minorities.
All right. Everything he said is true. 100% true. But hear me on this. If you take out the word Daesh and insert the word Islam, not Muslims, Islam. Listen to what it says, because this statement is also true. Ready? Here I go. Islam
is responsible for genocide against groups in areas under its control, including Yazidis, Christians, and Shia Muslims.
Now, I'm not trying to be cute. What I'm trying to show you is that the philosophy, the religion, the law code of Islam, as established by Muhammad, the founder of Islam, and his companions, the first generation of Muslims, what ISIS is doing is a near perfect reflection of Muhammad and his early companions. Now, all of this information to vindicate, justify, to confirm what I'm saying to you is carefully hidden away in books. I'm quoting from a movie. What was that movie? The one where the alligators would come and eat people? Oliver Platt said the line, oh, I wish I knew the name of it. It was about up in a lake in New York where, all right, never mind. Anyway, you see behind me a bunch of books, okay? Many of these are books on Islam written by Muslims who are the heroes of Islamic history and Islamic theology. More than heroes, they're like the fathers of it, okay? So ISIS has self-consciously set out to mimic what Muhammad did. It's just that simple. If you have an intense conversion to Islam, who do you want to mimic? Who do you want to follow? Whose example do you want to set the pace of your day? Well, it's Muhammad. It's very simple. Just like if you converted to Christianity, you're going to want to mimic Christ and his earliest apostles, his disciples. All right, so I've been corresponding with some people in the Middle East. I traveled in the Middle East, and the lack of knowledge about the Muslim religion, the Islamic religion, was astounding to me. And Donald Trump, in his recent statement where he said, Islam hates us, that was a true statement. What he didn't say was that most Muslims hate us, because that's different. All right? Islam is the system of thought. It's the religion. It's the law code. It's the blueprint. It's Sharia law. That's Islam. Muslims are people that, to one degree or another, have made a declaration in faith that Muhammad was a prophet of God, the final prophet of God, the seal of the prophets, the last one. So, I got a letter from a Muslim woman from the Middle East. Not going to give her name, not going to even give her a country, but I want you to listen to what she said. I'm a Muslim, and I can tell you that ISIS are so far from the Islamic path. 2, in Islam, slavery is forbidden, and everyone who had some slaves were told to set them free for Allah's sake and were promised to be rewarded by Allah in heaven. Muslims also invented a way for slaves to work for their master and to buy their freedom. By the way, number 2 is not true. In Islam, slavery is not forbidden. It's not. All right, Sharia law to this day explains how a slave is to be treated. There is an element of truth in what she said. Everyone were told to set a slave free for Allah's sake and were promised to be rewarded by Allah in heaven. Muhammad did say on a number of occasions that a very high reward exists for a man who has a female slave, who teaches her the religion of Islam, who manumits her, frees her, and then marries her. He's already had sex with her because she is his female slave. And he said, if you want to receive a great reward from Allah, teach her Islam, free her, and marry her. In other words, make her legit. That's what Islam is. All right, I know that I'm late. Can I keep going? And then just want me to take a break and come back to it? All right, I'm going to take a break, and I will finish with this letter. It's very interesting. And what you're going to see is an example of a Muslim who does not know her own religion. I wonder if she knew that Muhammad did have sex slaves. I wonder if she would abandon Islam. I'll probably never know. Friend, this program is supported by friends like you who believe in what we are doing. We run a very tight ship. Thankfully, we are on over 130 stations across the country, having tremendous impact. We get emails every day. We get letters in the mail, not every day, but almost every day. We hear from people who love what we're doing. What people don't understand is that it's sort of expensive to produce a television show like this. It doesn't require earth-shattering funds, but it does require financial help. So I am asking you, if you enjoy this program, throw us a $10 or a $20 bill every once in a while, or even a $50 or a $100 check. You see the address there on the screen. Your gifts are not tax deductible, by the way, because we want to be able to say what we want to say regarding politics without the IRS telling us no. So if you like the program, I ask for your support. Hi, friend. I'm going to continue with a letter that I recently received from a Muslim woman from the Middle East. Here's her point number 3. Prophet Muhammad never captured a slave girl or ever had one. Instead, he was helping his wife in home duties. This is a fabrication, okay? I don't know who's teaching her what, but you can read Al-Tabari, you can read Ibn Ishaq, you can read Ibn Kathir, you can look at Hadith, okay? And they all state that Muhammad had sexual slaves. He had Maria, the Copt, who bore him a son as a slave, bore him a son, who then the boy died in infancy. He was about 2 years old. He also had Rayhana, a Jew from the Banu Qurayza, and she died in his power. She was a sex slave, okay? And he distributed sex slaves. So this statement is simply not true. And that he was helping his wife in home duties is almost laughable. What he did say was that, or actually Fatima, his daughter, had slaves, female slaves, and then, but sometimes Fatima would say to the slave, you take the day off and I'll do the cleaning today, okay? And so that's one of the reasons that Fatima is held up as one of the mothers of the faithful, as she's called, because she was kind to her slaves. But she had them, okay? And okay, I continue. Prophet Muhammad's companions were spending their savings on buying slaves to set them free. This is simply not true. Muhammad did have slaves that he chose to free at points. And there were times when, for example, there was one woman who was the daughter of a chief, and they had annihilated the men of the village, most of them. And she was about to become the sexual slave of one of Muhammad's companions, even though she was a princess. She was the daughter of the ruler. She went to Muhammad himself and pled her case. Muhammad said, she said, please help me out. Help me get out of being a slave. And he said, I'll do something better than that. I'll marry you if you want. And she said, okay. She said, then I do. So he took her as his wife under great duress. She's under duress because her whole family, all of her village, they're all about to become slaves. And Aisha, the child bride of Muhammad, said that she did more for her people than any woman that she ever knew of in history, okay? By simply agreeing to be Muhammad's wife under stress, all right? And then every one of the Muslims who had slaves from that village, because they were already distributing the people as slaves, everyone who had slaves heard the word, hey, they're our family now, they're our kindred. He just married the princess. And she was really beautiful. Aisha said she hated her. When she set eyes on her, she hated her because she was so beautiful. And all of the Muslims at that point freed their slaves, and they all became Muslims. They've got a gun to their head, okay? Their biggest, most powerful protectors are dead. They all become Muslims, and they're all set free. I continue. In wars, Prophet Muhammad had strict orders for his army to never cut a tree, never hurt a woman, child, or an old man, never destroy a building, and never kill an animal, and never burn anything. He did give these orders. This is true. The problem is when he needed to break them, he did. At one point, he started to cut down the orchards of Jews that were hiding out, and they said to Muhammad, you've never cut down trees before. Why are you doing this? He just continued to cut down the trees because that was their livelihood. It was fruit-bearing trees, food-bearing trees. On another occasion, his men came, and they were attacking at night, and they said, look, we're going to end up killing women and children. And he had forbid, don't kill women, don't kill children. And Muhammad's response, recorded in 3 separate hadith, is, they are of them. They are of the pagans. They are of the infidels. It's okay if you kill women and children in a melee. It's okay. And finally, people started to enslave their enemies when they started to drift away from the real Islam, from Prophet Muhammad's path and Sunnah. It's simply not true. She's trying to say that as the generations went on, that's when Islam really started to have slaves, but not during Prophet Muhammad's life, not during the life of his companions. No, the exact opposite is true. Muhammad is who set up the rules for taking slaves, including sexual slaves. And his immediate companions all practiced sexual slavery. I'll be right back. I want to invite you to go to our website. Almost every book that I have ever written is available as a PDF online for free. We have a ton of products, training materials, tools that are available for you for free. All we ask for is that you give us your email address. That's it. So that we can stay in touch with you. And yes, from time to time, ask you to support this work. So I'm inviting you, go to the website. Now, for those of you who say, well, I don't want a PDF, I want a real book. You can get one of my books. All you have to do is pay for shipping and handling, and then give whatever gift you want. And if you can't afford anything, we'll send you the book for free. Just pay shipping and handling. Why are we doing all this? Because we want to change the direction of the country, and we need to raise up a fresh generation of warriors to do that. That's why we have this tool. I invite you, go to the website, see for yourself. Well, I hope that you have had a blessed St. Patrick's Day. I'm going to shift back to the overrun discussion of American politics, but this is important. There are discussions right now, public discussions, about the Republican National Committee Rules Committee, the RNC's Rules Committee, changing the rules for the nomination process. Now, this happened before. Did you know that? Did you know that this happened when Teddy Roosevelt ran against Howard Taft? So Teddy Roosevelt was president until 1908, and then to honor George Washington, he didn't run again. He could have, he didn't. Taft ran, became the president, and then Teddy Roosevelt was so disgusted by what Taft was doing, he ran and beat Taft in the Republican primary. And then they changed the rules at the Republican convention and stole the nomination from Teddy Roosevelt and gave it to Taft. Teddy Roosevelt basically said, fine, went across the street and started the Progressive Party. It was a three-party race. Roosevelt would have won, but someone tried to assassinate him and shot him in the chest. His speech was hit, saved his life, but Teddy Roosevelt was in and out of consciousness for a few days prior to the election, and the American public got scared and voted for who? Woodrow Wilson. All right. Listen to me. You know why we have elections, right? You do know why. It's so we don't have to kill people. It's so we don't have to imprison people. It's so that we don't have to exile people. That's why. I mean, that's the alternative, right? We have elections so we can have the peaceful transition of power versus living under a tyrannical dictatorship that never changes, or overthrowing the aforesaid tyrannical dictatorship. Killing him, exiling him, whatever, okay? So if the RNC wants to follow the example set over 100 years ago, that would be a disaster for the Republican Party. And it's what ended up getting Woodrow Wilson elected. It will elect Hillary Clinton, and they know it. They know it. But I want to just go a step farther and some of them would rather have Hillary as president than Donald Trump, because they can't control Trump. And at least with Hillary in power, they can be still in their own power grid against her. I'm almost out of time, but to the activists out there, here's what you need to do. Find out the name and a photograph, maybe the home address or a business address, right, of every single member of the Rules Committee. Just post it online. We're praying for you to do the right thing. All right, I'm being a smart aleck now. But let them feel the pressure. We know who you are, and we are not going to let you change the rules. Listen, they'll do it to Ted Cruz if they'll do it to Trump. These are people who hate Ted Cruz and who hate Donald Trump, and they want a Jeb Bush or a Kasich or a Romney to be the nominee. And they're willing to say to hell with all of the Republican voters who've participated thus far so that they can have their way. Find out their names, put up their pictures, and let them know that we're watching them. That's the way to help keep them on the straight and narrow.